Welcome, Toffee TV, live at 5 on another interesting day for Everton Football Club. At least we say about that, they're probably the better. Ongoing criminal investigation. Just another one for the football club. But I generally think there's people like Amazon and Netflix who are sitting around going, "What did we do, lads? Why did we go to Arsenal?"
Yeah.
They seem quite calm.
Yeah.
And quite, like, you know, apart from a little spat between Arteta and Klopp, this is going to be a very boring documentary. Why didn't any of you suggest Everton?
Yeah.
I mean, it's staring at us. It's been staring at you for a while. Why didn't any of you suggest Everton Football Club?
Absolutely terrifying,
You know,
isn't it?
the people, they'll be sitting there going,
It's absolutely crazy, isn't it?
we're a crazy foot. We have turned in. This is the worst. I think this is the worst, like, you can possibly say about a football club is we have actually turned into a soap opera. Like, maybe not to people on the outside because they just don't care. But to us as fans, we've turned into an absolute soap opera. Like, every day there's something, like, where you just go, what is going on? And I think that's a sign of how bad your club is either run or just the predicament they find themselves in when every day you find something.
Because at some stage things have got to calm down, haven't they? And I honestly don't know if they will. I mean, they have to, but this is just stuff you don't need.
No.
You know, and I guess the worst thing about this is, from the football club's perspective, it's got nothing to do with them, has it? It's that this individual has decided. No, but you know what I mean.
No, I do know what you mean.
This individual's decided to do something, or got himself involved in something that he shouldn't have done. But they just didn't need it. They didn't need it on top of everything else that's going on. You know, and we don't need it as fans, because at the end of the day, all we want is our football club to be the best it can be. And we're all struggling anyway because it's not very good on the pitch. We haven't had money to spend, so we haven't been able to parade a shiny new thing that we all love. A lot of people don't like the manager. The only thing, and we keep saying it, is the ground.
Yeah.
But there's only so many times that placates you. Yeah. You need to see something else. We've got the news today that, you know, Lewis Dobbins still hasn't signed a new contract. You know, he was offered a new contract, but he still hasn't signed it. And then you start looking at that going, oh, have we got another Thierry Small here? And it's just little things we don't need. We need some good news, don't we? And this is just like, you know, season ticket prices might be going up. Oh, Everton are doing AGMs online. It's just like one thing after that. I know they're different things, but I think we just need a period of winning some football matches and calmness, don't we? And at the moment, it seems to be very, very stormy seas at the moment. And so, I don't know. It's not good, is it? No. It's not good. Jake Ablett says, howdy, Gary Ward, howdy. Dick L says, I've got zero faith in Delph, and to be honest, I'm starting to lose faith in Alan. So my question to you is, how far away is Tyler Onyango from starting an Everton game? Played 90 minutes the other night, didn't he, on Monday? Made his Premier League debut on Sunday for 3 minutes. That was one of them for him, wasn't it? Where, like, every Everton game in injury time is always 5 minutes. Every Everton game. You're coming on as a sub and it was 3. But do you think is he close to starting a game for Everton? Or is he just...
I think he was before he got the injury. He was, you know, in and around it.
Yeah.
And the injuries obviously set him back a good few months. Now, Decore, you'd like to think he'll be back within the next 10 days.
Yeah,
at some point.
Yeah.
So that might that might stop that, him coming in. But I think what you want to see is you want to see him. You've got to see a player like that come, and this is any young player. You've got to start seeing them coming off the bench and affecting things. So first of all, you've got to be trusted to come off the bench, straight off the bat, and start affecting things a little bit like Gordon.
Yeah.
Has done. And then they'll get starts if they are affecting things, and they're affecting things more than the opposition. Their opposition, within the squad. So again, people have got to be careful not to just decide that someone is a good player because they do well for the under-23s. The under-23 level is miles away from Premier League. It's closer to League One, but without the physicality. Yeah. I think for players like him, the manager's got to get trust in them, and then them get out. Look, we've seen like Gabaman. Gabaman's the fittest he's ever been, but he ain't getting on the pitch because the manager just looks at him and goes, "You're not up to the speed of the Premier League." Because the manager's looking at all these games now, thinking, "Got to start picking up points," and therefore I can't allow these little gaps. It's great when you're flying and you've got amazing players in Manchester City and you can play a lad up front where he'll benefit because he's playing with better players and he knows the system. I mean, we've heard today this story, whether it's true or not, or how relative it is, about Brands saying the under-23s has got to start playing. I mean, number one, that's 3 years too late.
But better late than never.
So you've got that. And I think that what that says to me straight away is, Brands is, well done Brands, has identified that some of these players will have to start playing in the first team just because injuries, we're not bringing players in January, and the squad depth is like, he's looking at thinking...
Do you not think we will bring players in January?
I think we might bring loans in.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking just from a point of view of like, if you can't bring players in,
you can't get the ones you want.
Not the ones you want.
Yeah.
He's going to start looking at going, I'm going to have to... Because Dobbin's like a really good example. Dobbin's sitting here thinking, am I going to sign a new contract? You know, the club have offered them one. So it's not necessarily on the club, this. It's on the player. But the player might be looking, thinking, I want opportunities. I think I can get opportunities elsewhere. Surely at some point Everton have to be brave and go, we're going to give you an opportunity. And that's what maybe Brands is looking at in saying, right, now is the time where actually the under-23s has got to be a direct link. It is the reserves. It's the first team reserves. So it has to be, those players have to be ready. Now, with a player like Dobbin, I think there's been a little bit of misunderstanding about where he plays. But let's make that easier by saying, you now play in the 23s in the same position as we'd expect you to play in the first team. Now, that might mean in the under-23s he plays a slightly different role. Yeah. But if that means that he's got a better chance of being in the first team, then that makes sense. That makes 100% sense. If Sims was playing up front on his own, he's going to have to learn to play up front on his own so that if the opportunity arises, and it might come on Sunday for all we know, or stepping off the bench in the derby or whatever, that we know that he can deal with playing back to goal, holding the ball up, dealing with through balls, then at least, I mean, this is common sense, surely. I mean, this is just basic common sense. But surely we've got an understanding, because if I'm just a normal person and I'm watching the under-23s, I can look at it and go, I don't have to make that mental arithmetic of going, well, hang on, he plays there, but we don't play like that. So can he play in there? And I think these are all, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, coaches should know this anyway. But surely for the player, it makes it less complicated. That you've been playing left of a 3 or right of a 3. Well, guess what today? You're playing left of a 3, you're playing right of a 3. Make it dead easy for the player so that when he steps into that Premier League, all he's got to think about is just doing the things he's been doing and not thinking, hang on, I've never played in this position before. I've never played in this system. Where does my move? Where do I go? What is my movement going to be today? Let's make it easy for these players and give them pathways. Otherwise, what's the point?
Footballers need simplicity.
Of course they do.
They do. Rhys Colborne says our club is a mess from top to bottom. Where do we even start if we have an overhaul of the club?
Well, we start at the top because you can't start. There's no point starting at the bottom. There's no point. You've got to start at the top, and you've got to start weeding out the problems and the decision. People who make decisions are the problem, aren't they? Because surely if you've got a fella at the bottom who keeps on getting told what to do, he's just going to do what he's being told what to do. It's not. And this is almost the situation with the manager. It's like, the manager now is at the very end of it all, isn't he?
Mesh, yeah.
Of the mesh. He's like, yes, he may contribute, but he's not the. If another manager comes in and the fella at the top keeps on giving him the bogus information, then he's what can he do with that? If we keep on telling Ned to do something and it's wrong, and we're the ones who are wrong, well,
he can't be blamed.
He can't be blamed, and if we replace him and a new fella comes in and we keep on telling them the same thing, then it's not on that person. And I think but the number one thing at a football club is money. You've got people at the top who've got money, who've got status, who've got ego, and I think that's these people don't get told no.
Yeah.
They've got to recognise themselves, haven't they, when things are going wrong. But it's very hard.
Do you think Everton do need to bring, replace Ken Knight, get Bill Ken Knight, give him the life presidency or whatever, match day host, whatever you want to give him? But do you think Everton really do need to bring a football person in who's dealt within football and business?
Everton fundamentally need to bring someone in from the outside.
No, that's what I mean.
Who recognises. The owner's got to recognise there's a problem. He's got to recognise the problem. This amount of managers in this short time, you've got to recognise there's a fundamental problem. It's not just the managers, it's how it's set up. Surely the first thing you do is, whether this person's a new chairman or he sits on the board, you've got to bring in...
Yeah, he could be just another
You've got to
board
bring
member,
in someone from the outside who has got the autonomy to look at the club and go, this is why it's failing. And there are a lot of people out there who can do that job.
Yeah.
You've mentioned him loads of times, Sir Terry Leary. He does that. That's one of his remits. One of his remits is to go into...
It's to fix it.
It's to go in and, I can't sit here and tell you I understand the top and bottom of what's going on, but I understand when something's failing. And I think everybody feels the same way. But you've got to surely have the bollocks. Listen, Ken Wright did it with Trevor Birch. He brought in Trevor Birch and the club was failing and he needed to understand why the club was failing. Trevor Birch came in and told him exactly what he didn't want to hear. Yeah. So Trevor Birch just was like, well, if you're not going to listen to me, what's the point? Walked away, told him he had to sell Ken Wright, had to sell Wayne Rooney because he was the biggest asset, and actually by selling Wayne Rooney, you'd clear the decks.
But sell him at the high price.
Sell him at the high price. No, we didn't. We waited, and actually we undersold him because we were so precious about it, where we weren't business minded about it. And I think that's Bill Ken Knight's biggest problem.
Well, he gave him 3 things, didn't he? Sell Rooney, you need a new stadium, and you needed extra board members with money, who he was going to go and get. And Bill Ken Knight didn't like any of the 3 suggestions. So Bert said,
no, because he's getting rid of his train set.
If I can't do it,
and at the same time,
job he went.
And at the same time of getting rid of your train set, you're also upsetting, all your mates. Because Ken Wright, whether people believe, Ken Wright surrounds himself. He's got like a little clique of fans who he's looked after. And I know some of them are. And he's looked after them for years. And he makes sure they're always fine. And then they go out and make noise on his behalf then. Bill Ken Wright's a wonderful human being. Dead nice fella, does a lot for charity and has done loads for the club. Yeah. No one can ever turn around and go, you're a despicable human being. He's not. But that's part of that's part of the story.
But part of our weaknesses, though, isn't it? And we need and listen, it's not just Bill Kenwright this either, because there's people at the club. But we do need to make a decision. It's on Farhad Moshiri, you know, it's not on Bill Kenwright. But it's on Farhad Moshiri as the owner.
But the weird thing is, though, Baz, is that there's a weird thing because Moshiri is, we've met Moshiri, and like when we met him, when we've actually been like, there's a real otherworldliness about him. Like he's got like a fella who could probably kill you with one touch. Like he's got a bodyguard who's one of those bodyguards who just follows.
Well, you know not to mess with him.
When we went to Goodison that time and we saw all his minders, and there was like 12 proper, like, you know, these are ex-military, whatever. Just because he's not, because he's a billionaire. He's a proper fella. Like, but there's also there's a weird attachment to that. So you've got one fella who absolutely loves the club, but hasn't got a pot to piss in. And then you've got this other fella who's like Monaco-based, otherworldly, something like, you know, he is proper. He is the fella he's the fella who's like the bad guy in Tenant, and you know, he's like, there's something very like, not dark about him, not saying he's like but do you know what I mean? He's like, there's maybe like a coldness to him, because that's what those kind of fellas have. And it's weird that there's no in between, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's what Everton need is someone to come in. And this is where egos have got to be thrown away. Someone's got to come into Everton and just go, no, you actually need to go and get this person to be a CEO.
Let's have a bit of direction on the show tonight for a change, like for this. Like.
I think we are.
And we are. No, we are. So the football club is where it is. I mean, Andy, the Piffs in the comments said, can Bill play himself in a 10-part mini-series about Everton involving directors? Yeah, I'm not going to throw up the last bit. The thing is, with Everton, the way you look at it right now, right, still one of the great football clubs of England. Big.
Do you really believe that, though?
No, I do, because I don't look at it for like the last 20 years. Because if I really start looking at it that way, I appreciate. I fully. It's not that I'm not. I fully agree with what you're saying. The difference is, though, the last 20 years of society are unlike any. I mean, I can't say this for fact because I wasn't there, but it doesn't feel like the last 20 years feels like. Think about the way this country is. Think about the way we hold on dear to. You know, the way people go, we need to get back to the old Britain. Yeah, I know.
But what I mean by that is the last 20 years really feels like it has unbelievably moved society on. Not in a good way, by the way. To the point where, now, right, 20 years ago was 2001. And you get kids now who couldn't tell you what happened 5 years ago, and yet we grew up in a generation where I think, because of the way things were, we knew what happened 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years before we were born. We understood the way TV was, the way media was. But media now is so ever present, and it never looks back.
No, I know.
That Everton, this is my point, is where Everton are being very quickly forgotten about. We are one of the great establishments of football, one of the great institutions, but the way people consume now, it's all about immediacy, and I think we are being very, very quickly forgotten about.
Yeah, there's elements of that are right. I'm not arguing with that. What I'm saying to you is the same way I look at Aston Villa. Aston Villa, big institution, football.
But do you look at Aston Villa like that because that's the way we think because of our
of
our generation?
Maybe, but I can only talk from me, can't I? I can't say that. You know, Kevin, who's 23, who's playing on FIFA now, and his bills and eating Lucky Stars and all that as he's playing it. I can't. Lucky Stars. Yeah, Lucky Stars. Yeah.
Do people still eat
Magic Stars? I mean, not Lucky Stars. Magic Stars.
Do people still eat Magic Stars?
Yeah. But anyway, I digress. I don't know how he's feeling. I'm just saying that Everton Football Club is an institution. It's one of England's great football clubs.
Yeah, I agree. Right?
But we are not a big team. We're not, because, like you just said, anyone looking at it since the Premier League started, what are we? We're a 8th place team, you know, between 6th and 12th place team, 6th and 13th place team over a period of time. We had some years when we were struggling because we had no money. We had years under Moyes where it was all right. Well, it was good, really, relatively now. It was really good.
Yeah.
And then the last few years have been not great. You know, even since Managerial come in, well, what? We're 7th, 8th, 12th, 10th, aren't we? So if you put that in a mean, we're probably around the 8th and 9th place if you do it since Managerial's been in, right? We got some money there as well. But what the football club is at the moment is a mishmash of everything. The team we've got is 9 different people's influences.
Yeah.
If you include like directors of football in there and stuff like that, you've got those influences. So it's an amalgamation of that, which means it's nothing, right? We've got a director of football who so far hasn't really proved himself. He's brought some good people in and some maybe that haven't worked out. But because we've got no clear lines of communication from the football club,
we've got no direction, have we?
No, but that's what. But because we've got no clear direct thing of communication of what he does, you will always get the arguments of going, well, he brought a Wobie in, but no one goes, he brought Luca Dean in for 18 million and he's brilliant. It doesn't tie off, so you'll go, Yerry Mina came in's excellent. Yeah, but he brought in, you know, Salomon Rondon, right? But then people will go, no, he never brought Rondon in, it was Benitez. And Rodriguez came in because of Carlo. And so there's all, and you know what, there might be quite a bit of
But isn't that a part of the problem?
But
I always say that's the problem.
This is the problem, right? So we've got that. So we've got him in a role. And this is where, and I discussed this with the Piv yesterday, this is where my respect for him goes. Because if he's doing his job the way he wants to do it, then he's not very good at his job. Right?
Yeah.
If he's doing his job not the way he wants to do it because people keep interfering, then where's his self-respect? Trevor Birch, who you mentioned, I'm only bringing him up because you mentioned him before, walked out the door when he wasn't able to do his job. So Brands needs to do something.
Maybe just on that, maybe he really likes the job, but also the job is a challenge to maybe part of his remit is that he wants to take Everton to a certain place, and actually he feels like...
Does he feel he can then? Is that why he's still here?
Maybe he must feel like he can. Maybe he feels like if he gets to the end of this season and you get all those players out the door, those free transfers, and suddenly FFP looks a little bit brighter, and actually the type of players he wants to get are now starting to become more and more available to him because of that, then maybe he'll feel he'll feel justified that was the job he was doing, and he's done that, and he's got through the bit that we can't all see now because we're in there, we can't see the wood for the trees. That once the season ends, it's like, now I can go and start doing my job. Like, it was like think of it like, it's like, why would you toil through 4 years or 3 years of rubbish if I'm not going to get the benefit? Like, I'm setting this up for the next person. Like, I don't know. I'm just being devil's advocate.
No, but that's what I'm saying to you. I'm not square.
But I don't. But that's not my biggest problem. No,
but hang on, I haven't finished my point. That's not squarely what I was saying, because there's obviously a recruitment team as well, which have made errors. But we still, it's like the biggest thing for me, like this week or today, it's come out. Marcel Brands has instructed the under-23s. He wants them to play like this. Yeah. That's a real positive. About time. And
Kane said they did play 4-2-3-1 on Monday, and Dobbin was on the right.
So good. Well, then, but again, like you said, well, why wasn't that day one? Why is that 3.5 years in? But anyway, we digress. That's where it is. So you've got that issue. You've got the owner owning the football club and seeming not to really have any input into it. That's how it seems, because he might be input.
Didn't we ask for him to not have input in it though?
But I want to hear from him. I want to hear him. If he's still got we were asked the question yesterday on one of our shows on Patreon. If you had 5 minutes with him, what would you be asking?
How often do you hear from John Henry though? How often do you hear from the Glazers? How often do you hear from Sheikh Mansour?
No, but they have people like...
no one else, so that's what I'm saying.
They've got a spokesman who talks about it. Well,
so is that what... So that's...
Well, maybe that's Denise then, and Denise does speak, so maybe it's just what
Everton maybe need like we've said amazingly amount of times.
Alan Myers.
To bring someone like Alan Myers back to the club.
Iron Myers, I like the
Iron
sound
Myers
of.
is good. That's actually his wrestling name.
That sounds
Iron
good.
Myers.
Sounds good. But I think
wrestles in the Cheshire Leagues.
But that's what we need, because there's no communication.
That's what I'm saying.
I want to hear that, but straight away there's pockets. So fans, we do it. We sit here and go, why is that happening? What's going on at our club? Why isn't this happening? Why isn't that? And I understand when things are crap, you want validation of the reason why it isn't working, but it's still broken.
No, but I think
it's broken and it needs fixing.
When you say, like, the problem is that this actually isn't the time to come out in a way and talk to the fans. It's at the beginning of the season where you sit down and you address what the situation is and you put in a clear plan and say to people, right, we've got so much information at our fingertips now, all of us. Like, so therefore, we know generally why reasons are. We know the debt situation, we know the FFP situation.
Do we know the FFP situation? Because the club haven't addressed that either.
No, but we know it. We know it based on the debt, don't we?
We know it based on the debt.
You can obviously there's people out there who are a lot cleverer than me, who can extrapolate. But I can use big words.
Yeah.
The data of what the FFP is against the debt. They know that.
Even though figures come out the other week for Spurs.
No, I know, but you know, but it always comes down to what the original figures are. If the figures are a lie or wrong, or have been someone's had a little tinker with them to make it look better, then it can't. Of course, the end figure will always be wrong. So why can't the club sit down? And I don't know how many times I have to say this. Treat fans like grown-ups, right? Stop treating fans like they're mugs. In fact, I don't even like the word fans in a way, because I always feel like it's derogatory to people who've put their heart and soul into a football club. I mean, we had a chat earlier on in the week on Patreon about the non-existent shareholders meeting, which obviously is going to be online. And one of the bugbears with that is that there's a handful of shareholders who, rightly or wrongly, feel like they should be getting more from the club. But my argument to that is, and I think you're the same with me, is like, why? We should all be getting more out the club. The club should be sitting down with us once a year, at the very least, and addressing us all. The shareholders. I told you,
How would you do it, though? How would you do it? Online?
No. I could get bleeding higher out the Echo Arena if I had to.
Only holds 15,000.
Right, there's 24,000 season ticket holders. How many people are going
32,000 season ticket holders.
No,
what I'm saying to you.
Lying about that. So 1 and 2 season ticket holders, right, can go to the Echo Arena. And people might go, what are you talking about? This is nonsense. Well, why have any event? Why have any general meetings? Listen, I respect people who've got shares, right? I understand it. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't mean anything. I've said before, my auntie's got a share. She's got shares. They were passed down to her by her dad. She couldn't care less. They are her grandkids' inheritance in case one day someone comes knocking on the door and says, yeah, I'll offer you all this money for them.
Yeah.
But she's not asked about anything. She's not Evertonian if the family are not Evertonians. So she's got more of a right to sit in a meeting than I have, or you have. Some people who have give 30, 40 years of their life.
Yeah, I know.
But I'm not. What I mean is these shareholders, the ones who really matter, they're going to be in the room as well, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're still the fans are going to be in the room.
But that's again, it comes back to communication.
But that's what I mean, though. Surely, if you're gonna, it shouldn't be the right of a handful of people who just happen to have been in the right place at the right time to buy a share. We've all dedicated our lives to, a lot of us, to this football club, and we all deserve to be in the conversation of. And what I mean by that is, where the club have an annual address where they tell us what's going on. How many times after these like AGMs do people go, is there any footage? What did he say? And it's like, you feel like, we've been lucky to be at a couple of these things. And you're like, he said this and he said that. It's like, why, what? why do we have more right than anyone else to be in the room, you know, whether it be via a proxy or something? The club should be sitting down and addressing the entire fan base and telling them what the plan is. Because guess what? We put a lot of money into this club. And if we weren't there, and we've got an example of this.
Yeah.
We now have an example of this. If we weren't there, this club would cease to exist. It really would. It would just go out of business in no time.
Well, we both watched the Feyenoord doc, and they're talking about, obviously, the impact of COVID and how much it cost them. And they're like, if the fans don't come back, we're not going to trade for that much longer. It's Feyenoord in the top 3 of the...
Well, in the Feyenoord documentary, and I've heard this about a couple of other clubs, they begged their fans not to take their money back. You know, we all got the option to either take it back or Everton Community or for the next year. They were begging their fans. They were saying, if you don't leave this money here, we're going to go bust. Now, so it shows you how, that shows you, and they're a big club, Feyenoord, they're like us in that respect. But like this thing of like, the shareholder, and again, this is not about shareholders, but I feel like a lot of fans deserve the same. And that's communication, that's what I'm saying, going back to me originally.
I've got no issue with the shareholders having the shareholders meeting at all.
But that.
The fans should be able to... The thing what blew my mind was Marcel Brand's done that presentation, which was very good. And yet, no one got to see it. Yeah. We were there because we were there by because of a proxy or whatever. But nobody got to see it. Why?
Yeah.
Why couldn't Evertonians see it?
Where the man stands up and explains why he ain't buying centre midfielders, because he says, we've got 6 centre midfielders and we've only got 2 positions. And he said, and then he's like, yeah, and look at the right hand side. We've only got one right. We can get it. Theo Walcott. He went, we need people talk about buying there, but I ain't buying till I've got rid of these. And it was just like broken down, dead simple. Like you talk, like he was talking to kids. It was dead simple, and it made it dead easy.
Everton should have that out, so it's an address to all of us.
But at the beginning of the season, like, why not just sit down and say to people, right, we've only spent 1.7. This is generally, this is why. FFP has stopped us from being able to spend more money on players. We've only got 1.7 million or whatever. We've brought these 2 players in. We feel the squad's strong enough. We've got this centre forward, that centre forward. We've brought in this centre forward. We've let him go because, you know, Moise Keane. We let Moise Keane go because we feel it's going to be good business. We're going to get our money back. Kid, you know, he struggled to settle down, and we're going to let him go. We've brought in these. We feel like we're going to be. It's going to be a season where we're going to push for Europe. But of course, it's going to be a bit of a struggle. We are determined to give the manager time. We know it's going to be tough at times because football is tough and blah, blah, blah. To me, that's the simplest thing in the world, because you're not telling anybody what anyone doesn't already know. And also, when you get to these times now, it's something you can hold people to. You know, we are going to give...
That's why they don't want to do it. Because you think you hold it against it. I personally don't understand why they don't, because it gives us, as fans, we can reason, because we are the ones who live and breathe it. Yet they work there and all that, and they can be all unprofessional about it, but it's emotionally charged with us. You can't. We do this all day and go home and still think about it all night, and then come back in and do it again the next day. Same as every Evertonian. Get up for work on a Monday. You know, Evertonians are getting up on Sunday and leaving at 5 o'clock to go to Brentford. Regardless of the result, they'll get home at 10, 11 o'clock Sunday night. If Everton have lost, they get up and go to work Monday morning. A couple of days later, there's a derby, they're doing it again. Then a few days later, there's the Arsenal game, and they go to Chelsea on the Wednesday night, and they go to Palace and all of that stuff. You know what I mean? Palace, then Chelsea. Twice to London in a few days. They deserve to know this like secret thing of, we're only telling a handful of people or whatever. It's just nonsense. And just tell us.
But even going back to that, then, like, you know, it's not, even if with the shareholders, if it is just the shareholders, then people have a right to ask questions. People have a right to speak to everyone on the board and the owner and say, why, and also when they do speak to them, because we were there in the room and Tom Cannon said about Brands, he shouldn't be elected to the board because it's a conflict of interest. And he was just like, Thanks, Tom. We all elect. It was like, you know what I mean? It's like, obviously...
There wasn't even like a discussion,
No,
was
there
there?
was, it would have been an awkward discussion.
No, but sometimes you have to,
No, but
that's
the
give
point.
the reason
That's
why.
the point.
Don't
No,
you?
but that's why they got stopped in the first place, wouldn't he? Because Bill Kenwright wouldn't answer difficult questions. People were giving him facts, and he was pushing them away like they were liars when they weren't liars. And sadly, that's the problem. People, that's what I'm saying about bringing someone in from the outside to look over things. This football club, in my experience, whether people think it's valid or not, is a club. It's self-serving and it looks after itself. Everyone gets promoted from within. No one comes in from the outside who has new ideas to shake it up. The CEO used to run the charity, and then she got a job working for Elston, and then she got given the top job. Instead of saying, Elston was a joke, so let's cut that off and go, we don't want anyone who's been sullied by this joker who shouldn't have been running the club either. We're gonna go and look for the best and the brightest on the outside, and that's the same with anyone. The media department, he was an absolute fucking clown running our media department. Everyone laughs at him. Everyone we speak to in the media thinks he was a laughing stock. They can't get over how he got the job. Right? So what happens? He leaves the club. So the person underneath him gets the job. And nothing changes. Nothing changes because they're all so institutionalised by this football club. They're all mates. They're all pally-pally. They're all going to Christmas do with each other and having a big boss time.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Do you know what? At some point there has to be though.
No, but
because
that happens in a lot of businesses.
No, but because the problem is though, Baz, is that these people go all the way through the stages together, and there's nobody who ever comes in.
No, I don't know whether. What I'm going to say is, I'm not convinced there's a challenging. There's a challenger culture.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether there is.
No,
whether people will go. And we see it filters down to the team.
These people are all mates.
No, but it filters into the team.
No, I know.
You see it on a Saturday when a goal goes in. No one really challenges each other.
The whole club.
So it needs shaking up.
You know,
it needs shaking up.
FC Cozy and all this, but
right.
the whole club though is just, they're all self-serving. You need a couple of people to come in from the outside.
Yeah.
And shake it up and say, no, this is how we're going to do things, because how we've been doing them isn't going to do anything.
Yeah. Smedley Butler says, I did club business with Everton and thought it was the biggest joke ever. No business is run like that. I'm still a Blue for life though. On this, Den says, all right lads, not sure how I rate Kenwright as a chairman, but I reckon he'd be a boss Santa at the Everton Christmas party.
Probably would.
Jake says, all right lads, honestly cannot see us getting any results in the next two purely because of the energy of the two teams we're up against. I don't think Rafa's going to survive. Okay. Steve Kelly says, all right lads, hope you're well. I'll be honest, I'm sick and tired of this club now. It's draining me. Treat us like idiots, to be honest. Maybe not this season, but relegation is coming. Club full of lies and cheats. Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with the relegation bit today. I'll leave all the other stuff alone. Dick L says, somebody at work mentioned today that an ex-Everton player was in the jungle. It took me a moment because I'd completely forgotten David Ginola played for Everton.
I think he's completely forgotten.
He didn't mention us, did he?
No.
He mentioned
Why would you?
I have no memories of him in an Everton shirt. Do you remember any? Yeah, I remember him. His first game, he hit the post in a 0-0 draw with Arsenal.
Was Arsenal? Sorry, yeah.
Bent it, hit the post. I remember him against Crewe in the FA Cup, juggling the ball and flicking it over someone and volleying it. Other than that, there was not really much.
He signed on the same day as Lee Carsley.
He did. I was quite pleased when we got him because I thought, he might have something. If he'd have had him a couple of years younger...
Moyes came in and chased him when he chased... when him and Gaza got chased.
Although Gaza still says he should have hung around. He gave Gaza the option. I think Ginola was... He kept him there, didn't he? But he just didn't really use him. He was just like, you're not going to work the way I want you to work, mate. But it is what it is. If we're doing a bit of direction, Lewis Dobbin. Obviously, it's out today, the contract stuff. He still hasn't signed. Everton offered him a deal back in August, I think, July, August, a new contract. He's not signed it. Are you worried that we've got another Thierry Small on our hands?
In terms of where my worries are right now,
I know.
he's not he's not up there. I don't know. Ultimately, he looks like a real prospect. Everton are like, problem with Everton, it's weird because they're like caught between the devil and the deep blue sea at the moment. It's like these players should be getting games because the squad's terrible. But then are you worried? Like, is it too soon for them? And things can change very quickly. They'll know. They'll have seen him. They have to use their judgment on him and whether they think he's ready.
Yeah.
And again, though, his opportunities are going to become probably, I imagine, better if he's out for any particular time and because we've got a lot of games. He has to start getting off the bench, coming on the bench, getting off the bench and having an impact on the game. You know, of course, listen, Everton have offered him a contract. I don't know if there's anything more they can do. Can you pander to a player? Can you start saying to somebody, oh, we've offered you this and actually we're going to start giving you games because we want to keep you? I don't think you can actually do that. I don't think that's a measured approach. You have to sit down and probably tell them what you think is going to be where you think they're going to go. But unfortunately, kids don't want to sit round. And I don't think I'd want to sit round after looking at Everton in the last few years of the amount of people who got into the first team. So it's a difficult one. Am I worried? Not particularly, because it ranks very low on the things I'm worried about at Everton Football Club at the moment. So, but it would be a shame, of course, it'd be a shame. But the ball's in his court, isn't it? The ball is in his court. It's up to him. You know, Sims signing that contract was, him, getting the contract for 3 years was a bit of a surprise to me. The club, is he waiting for a better offer? Is he waiting for, maybe he might think, well, if I get a few games and suddenly I elevate myself in this squad, they'll give me a better contract. They'll give me something more substantial. So maybe, maybe he's playing him and his agents are playing a clever game, but it's a bit crap, isn't it now, generally in football, where you're being dictated to by kids who haven't kicked the ball in the first team. That's just crap. That to me says everything about football now, where kids who you should just be looking at and just go, shut up, lad, go sit down. But you can't now because someone always wants the talent. So we'll wait and see. Yeah. It's a difficult one.
It's mad, isn't it? I mean, I've seen him. He looks nice and bright, but he's not like Wayne Rooney level. You don't look at him and go, oh my God, he needs to be in our team. Even Ross, when Ross come in at 17, he was big and strong and he looked like, all right. He did have some great games for Everton, Ross Barkley, and then it tailed off. Looks like a good prospect, but it is difficult because how do you give these lads guarantees if they're not, if they look at them in the next level and you go, going to be.
How do you give any footballer a guarantee though?
Yeah.
Surely it's down to them.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Surely it's down to them to prove themselves every day.
No, I mean for like going out the door.
Yeah,
if they won't sign a contract, you offer someone a contract and they look at it and go, no, I won't. Say for argument's sake, Everton have offered them £3,000 a week. I don't know, £5,000 a week. He's a kid, right? Give you £5,000 a week at 18 years of age. And he's like, I want 15. Or I want 18. Something like that. I mean, do you go, we're going to lose him otherwise? 18, we'll have to give him 18 grand a week. Or 20 grand a week. I
suppose he'll know how he's valued by what they want to offer him. And if he doesn't feel like they're offering him enough, then he doesn't feel like he's being valued.
Yeah, no, I know.
And I suppose that's...
But I'm saying from like the football club's perspective, if you've got someone and you're going, he's got a chance, but we're not convinced he's gonna be, you know what I mean? Because what happens is if I turn around to you and give you 20 grand a week, you're Lewis Dobbin, right? And then you don't do anything in the next year. You don't really go up. You're just kind of at the same level, and we're looking going, you're not going to play in our first team. No club's going to come and take you because they can't afford you.
And that's one of the things that Everton may have learned from, is given all those players that they brought in. You know, that under-23s team that won the league, was they brought in a lot of kids, paid money for them, give them decent contracts, the kind of contracts that no one else could touch. They all went out the door for free, and that's the thing you've got. That's why I was a little bit surprised with Sims getting 3 years.
Yeah,
maybe he's on low wages, I don't know, but
he's actually gone and played in the league.
He's gone and played. It's the artist. It's a really. It's to be honest. I mean, I know they offered him in August. Maybe they should have offered him a little bit earlier. I don't know, but it does feel. It's very much like at a point, isn't it, where it's like, it's a dodgy one now. But I don't know. I don't know. Everton might be thinking, there's another one a year behind you, who's coming through, who's better than you. So we don't have to offer you that. You've got to prove to us. So,
Alan Thompson on YouTube, we would think, is a Newcastle fan, I think. Remember Alan Thompson from Bolton?
Left for Celtic.
And Celtic as well. Level. I don't know whether I doubt it's him. Says,
I don't think it is him.
No,
I'm going to say I don't think it is.
You never know, though. You never know. Says, lads, we've had more communication at our club in 1 month from our new owners than we had in 15 years under Ashley.
I'd cut your hands off for owners like that.
We feel so positive, even if we get relegation. Fans are more important. And you know what? When I went and done the overlap, I spoke to Lee and his mate. I apologise, I forgot his mate's name, but the two of them there, and they were like, even if we go down, we feel like we've got because they're trying to put, now, there's been a little bit of, apparently, I'm talking to people in the game, it's a bit all over the place in Newcastle at the moment, but if they start getting the structure of the club right and build up, even if they do get relegated, if the structure gets put in place, they've got the money to be able, and if you plan it, you're going to be sound. And for those fans who've had nothing of Ashley, just nothing for years, you do want that positivity, don't you? Whereas for us, we had the positivity, and if it's faded,
positivity will drive you a long way. If you've got the fans on side, they're turning up and they're making an atmosphere, that goes a long way to, you know, to changing the mentality of a football club. Of course it does. When it's like us now, everything's doom and gloom. There's no, how can you find positives in anything? You know, I've seen people go, I can't watch your videos at the moment, too negative. But how do you find positives in anything? Until you start picking up points, till you start, get that 3 points, and that puts you in a position where you go, well, you know, it's. You know, if we do this every other game, we'll be fine. You know, we at the moment are just, and they've got that outlet of like new manager, scored 3 goals at the weekend, so they'll probably think, oh, we've never scored 3 goals under Steve Bruce. Things are on the way up, and they are. It's just that for Newcastle, they've just not got a very good team, and it's that weird thing of like they've got everything in one hand going for them, and on the other hand they've got to ride it out, and it almost feels similar in a way for us, because the funny thing is we do have something positive. We've got the stadium, and the stadium is our you know, it is the big shiny thing on the hill, isn't it? But also though, if you let your mind get carried away, you'll also start thinking about that, going, well, that's you know, it's not signed and sealed. It's a good beach at the moment, but it's not. No, well, it is though, isn't it? That's the point.
Lee Whitehead says Dobbins should be given a chance. What have we got to lose in comparison to Rondon starting? The only thing I'd say there, Lee, is that he's not a centre forward, so you couldn't play him up front in a one, which is what Everton play. You try to play him through the middle, he's just be eaten alive by Brentford centre-backs. And he hasn't got the nous at the moment about Premier League players. Play him off the, you know, if you want to give him a go wide instead of a Wobie, then yeah, fair enough. No arguments here. But playing him through the middle instead of Rondon isn't really an option. If you're not going to play Rondon, play Sims, because at least he's big and he probably moves a little bit more. He's still a bit lazy, Ellis like, but...
What do you think kind of bounce, or do you think there would be any kind of bounce if Team She came out on Saturday and Ellis Sims was playing down the middle?
I think the fans travelling
and
Dobbin
was playing wide right. And I'm not advocating for that because they're both kids. But you think...
I think it gives the away fans a bounce. Yeah. Well, what would you do? You get 1 o'clock on Sunday, you have a look at your phone, the team's announced. What are you thinking if you've got...
I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not getting up till about 2:45. So.
Okay, but you've got Anthony Gordon, Ellis Sims and Lewis Dobbin as a front three.
It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting. I mean, midfield might be interesting on Sunday if the rumours are to be believed.
What's the rumours?
Well,
don't say Delph's injured again.
No, the other one.
Alan?
That's the rumour.
Really? Yeah. Well, then Kabam will play.
That's okay. That's okay.
Or the Corey. I think he might go with 3. He might go with 3-5-2, I think. I think if you go with... if you match them up, at least if you match them up and you go, pick a man up, because that's how basic you'd have to be with some football.
My worry about 3-5-2 is James Coleman and just playing right back. Anyway, because he just can't get going.
It should, in theory, it should free him up. Because
it should.
He should be higher up the pitch.
But you
it's
know...
like when we played Spurs the other week, right? I looked Reguilon and Emerson, so they were playing in front of me on the Bullen side. The pair of them were basically in our half the whole game. The whole game.
You've got to be brave.
But ours, when we played, I think we played it against Burnley, didn't we? For an hour, Seamus.
Because you've got to have energy.
We basically had brave. We were lopsided.
You got to be brave, and you've got to have energy. And if you haven't got brave, Seamus Coleman is not got the energy to be brave. It's not 30.
Well, then in that case, put Ben Godfrey at right wing back, and put James Coleman as the third centre back on the right, because he's played there before. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see.
Play Jojo.
But I mean, what would you think though he played? He won't. There's not a chance, by the way. But if he did play Dobbin and Sims,
I would probably want to know the reasons why. Of course. Suppose. I mean, if he played the front three of those two and Anthony Gordon, I think it would be incredibly brave, incredibly bold, and the fans, I think, may actually go, well, he's doing something different. He's had a look around and he's seen who he's got, and he doesn't trust a couple of players in there to do it. But I don't think that's going to happen.
It'll be a Wobie, Rondon, won't it, and Gordon. They'll be the front three. They'll be the front three. Mathew Barry says, "Hi lads, hope you're well. Thank you for doing the Tuesday topic." No, thank you, Mathew, for sending it in. You could probably sense how fed up I am. 38 years, tens of thousands of pounds spent. I've never felt so distant towards my football club. Gary Ward said, "Baz, did you see the Nashville-Orlando City playoff match last night?" Yeah, someone asked me before who wants to win MLS Cup. Nashville for beating Orlando. They can go and win it now. Where are we? Justin says, off my birthday. Happy birthday, Justin Toby. Have a good one, mate.
Happy birthday.
Says, so I finally get to see it live at 5. Glad you seem to be doing better, Ped. Do you think Dom and Richie will go this summer? I don't think Dom will, but you never know. Do you think Richie could leave in January? I personally hope they both stay at least one more year, but know that this is highly unlikely. I think Richie will go in the summer. I think he'll go to PSG. That's just my gut feeling. He'll go to PSG. It's how we reinvest the money. If you reinvest the money properly and correctly, then it mightn't be as bad a thing as what we're all thinking. You never like to see your best players walk out the door ever.
No.
Ever, because you want to build something. But if he wants to go, and he'll have given us 4 years, won't he, or something, which is a decent amount of time to have at a football club. And we get 80 million, say, for him, and we reinvest that into 3 or 4 good players who improve the team. That's how you have to do it. And you have to almost become not frightened to lose players.
No, not if you've got an understanding of how you want to use the money and what you're going to do next. Then you shouldn't be at all worried.
Yeah.
You know, you should be planning. Should be part of your plan for you to that's 80 million. That's 3 players.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to do with that money. You shouldn't. You should plan. Everton should have all that planned out already. That's what clubs do now.
Yeah.
Should be looking at the next one. I don't know, Jonathan David or someone like that. Thinking about,
Yeah, quality player.
That's the way to think, isn't it? I'm not saying we would get him. I'm just saying that's the way to think.
That's what you're looking at. We could have got Jonathan David though. Before he went there, we could have got him. We could have got Ibrahim Shangari. We could have got, lots of players who have been bobbing around. We could have had Cornet, who's doing well at Burnley. Maxwell Cornet. We looked at him 2 years ago. We could have had him for probably less than what Burnley paid, because they still had like Burton, Traore and Depay and people like that. We could have got him then. We could have got there's numerous footballers around. We could have had Patson Daka. We looked at him last summer. Last summer before he went to Leicester. We looked at him, and okay, he's a flip of a coin, but he's looked all right for Leicester so far. And you'll have to take the edges off him. But there's a lot of these players who are bobbing around. Hwang. We almost we basically had him on January deadline day until they pull the plug. But we could have had that done in May. He wanted to come. We could have gone back in May and gone, we'll take him on loan with the view to the same deal Wolves have got. We could have had him and he'd have been another striker in. King was going, Hwang in, job done. And yet, it's all of this, like Leon Bailey. We scouted for 3 years. We watched them extensively last season. To do what? Why are we watching them if the money's not there? So it's okay. I mean, you should be watching players regardless, because you should be building a dossier.
But you've also got
but
to
if
be
you're
prepared
going
to
back
go in, haven't
3,
you?
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times to watch him, why aren't you buying him?
You've got to be prepared to go in, haven't you?
Doesn't make sense. It makes no sense.
Wasted more money on air travel.
It's that thing of like, so if you do have to sell Richarlison, then you look and you go, right, now then, plan now. The way Villa did. All right, it hasn't quite worked yet, but it might do with Gerrard. You just never know. But we need to be doing a succession planning. So look now and go, right, if we sell Richarlison for between 70 and 80 million pound next summer, right, what players will bring us the work rate and the goals, and look around for them and are of a certain age? Luis Diaz, we wanted, and if James had gone to Porto, we'd have got him, and he'd have been fabulous for us, and he would have been, you feel like he'd have been a replacement for Richarlison as well, because he works South America and he works up and down the line, gets goals. He's been outstanding for Porto. He was desperate to come here, absolutely desperate to come here. He'd have been a great sign. Well, there'll be other Luis Diaz's. If we can't get him now, because maybe his profiles or he wants too much or whatever, but there'll be other Luis Diaz. Get them now ready, so that when Richarlison goes, you go, yeah, well, we're getting him, and him. Or you know what? Do what they've done in the past and bring him in first and go, yeah, Richie, off you go. Oh, look, we've already brought someone in. Oh, Richarlison's gone. And there's another, and the next minute us as fans go, oh, you know what? They actually look like they've got a plan. Where we just, and it might not be like this, but at times it feels like we're just bouncing around in the dark, or we're just throwing stuff at a wall hoping it'll stick. At some stage, that has to stop.
We've chased a £15 million right back all summer for us to basically just decide that we couldn't afford them. Like,
I think the manager didn't want him either because he can't defend, which is a bit of an issue.
Why we've got 2 full-backs now who can't defend, but they also can't run.
Yeah, but that's not on us, is it? That, to be fair,
most full-backs can't defend.
I will criticise Brands because there's things I think he's made huge glaring errors over. But if he identifies this fella and the fella's interested in coming and all that, and then his manager goes, I'm just not convinced. And if all of our kitty is going on him, then I'm not happy with that. We can't really level that. I don't think it.
No, it just seems stupid.
But and also on the flip side to that, if you're Benitez and you've got someone going to you, there's this fella and you're looking on, that's not really what I want. What do you do? Do you just take him anyway and go, well, there's a big pot of wages gone and your transfer kitty gone? It's difficult.
No, but it just seems strange, doesn't it?
And they had Raiola complicating everything. Don't forget as well, asking for more money. But let's be honest, he's gone to Inter and he's sub. Doesn't even get into Milan's team. He's not turning it up. No, but I'm just saying, it's not like we sat here and he'd have solved all our problems. He'd have solved some, because he's pacey and he can get up and down.
Could he have played Dorothy?
Brian Garside said, good to see you back in tandem. Hope the recovery continues. I've spent 2 weeks on the sofa with the virus. with a virus. Spent the day catching up on the weekend's videos. With poor current crisis, why not play Branthwaite and move Godfrey to centre forward? Imagine Godfrey at centre forward, just like steaming forward. And yeah, the shot the other week, didn't he? So, got that for that. Gray Leeds says, think these 2 next matches might be a watershed moment for the fans turning on the board and not Benitez. There seems to be a lot more realisation of our dire predicament doing the rounds and not so many Kenwright lovies out and about defending him and the club's hierarchy. Personally, I think the only thing Big Bill deserves from the club is a dose of something. Joe Cody says, Alan now injured apparently. There you go. I mean, what can you do though? If he is injured, right?
He's injured.
What can you do? You can't do nothing about it, can you? It doesn't, it is what it is, isn't it?
Mm.
No, of course he'll probably be injured. We've got a Merseyside derby coming up. It makes you very... It does make you very nervous for that game, doesn't
I'm
it?
not nervous for that game.
No,
I know exactly what's going to happen.
No, I know, but I just mean, regardless of what's going to happen, it's by how many. If you've got no players...
I'll be honest, I haven't given it a minute's thought. I haven't got to give it a minute's thought.
No, I'm just saying it just because of that, but my big priority is Sunday, and it has been for a while, because it was a game I thought...
I think we can win Sunday, and I think we can win the following Saturday. The following, was it Monday?
Monday night, yeah.
Monday night against Arsenal.
Yeah, I do with the crowd. Even though they're a good side, I think we can beat them with
the
crowd.
I'm not saying don't prioritise the derby, but the derby will take care of itself. It always does. It always does. And it might be, listen, it could be a watershed moment. I don't know, but I'm not really worried about it. Because to me, we're playing one of the best teams in Europe. We're playing someone who's right up there. And I just don't think it's worth worrying about. You know, and that's just the way it is at the moment. We've got far bigger things to worry about. So,
grim, isn't it? Steve P says, but Baz, do you actually think we'll invest the money correctly? We all know we will just sign more slow, mentally weak players who'll walk out the door free. I don't know, Steve, but you've got to hope, haven't you? You've got to hope that at some stage they will get it right. You've got to hope that, haven't you?
I find it incredible they can get it so wrong. So
it is, isn't it?
I find it absolutely incredible that you can get things so wrong when there are really good examples out there of how people have got it so wrong, and it's just like, don't follow that example, you know. And you know, the problem Everton have got is that they are so far down the rabbit hole at the moment that, you know, that how do you get out of that? How do you get away from that? How do you change things? Because at the moment it feels like everything needs changing, like literally everything. So where do you start? You have to recognise it though, don't you? You have to recognise it. Have the people at the football club recognised it? Don't know, because they don't speak. You know, and unfortunately, if things keep going the way they're going, the only person who will be punished will be the manager. And really, that's not the issue. And that might, you know, get a few fans on side in the short term. But then those fans have got to ask themselves, well, what do we do next? Who, you know, it's such a, there's so many fundamental questions that need to be answered by the football club. But ultimately, winning games of football can solve a lot of it.
Oh, God.
It gives people, winning games of football gives people time. If you've got time, this is the problem with football. Everton really need to just do nothing for 3 years. Like, they could, no, on it genuinely though, Everton like need football to stop for like 3 years. But that's the problem, isn't it?
But like, the thingy roll on, like FFP.
Just everything just stop.
No, but FFP keeps dropping off.
I'm saying, no.
So we come back with no.
The problem with football is seeing that in this country, this is the biggest problem with football in this country, is that because the stakes are so high, you are basically changing things on the move. Whereas it feels like in other countries, the disparity between teams is so much within a division that if like AC Milan have major problems, say, which they did, it'll never cause them any real problems. Whereas someone like Everton, there's real jeopardy. You do not get it right in the Premier League, and you end up like Sunderland. The problem, the jeopardy is so high that it could actually destroy your football club.
Yeah.
Whereas in other countries, it doesn't feel like that. Even in like somewhere like Germany, if you get relegated, you can bounce back quite easily, and don't lose that much money, and it'll all be fine. But in this country, it feels like that's why so many clubs come up from the Championship and seem to like go boom and keep going, you know, and seem to have a really good season the next season, because they build these teams that are too good for the Championship, so they bounce into the Premier League and have a really good year. It might drop off after the year, but they have that upward momentum. It's Everton really could just do with like, lads, can we just have a year off? Or be like in the MLS, there's no relegation. So you get like a chance to sort yourself out for a year.
I think we'll be all right. We'll be all right. Where are we? Laulo Patu says Arsenal want DCL. Well, it's going to be like 100 million quid. So if they've got it, sound, come knocking. Yeah, what can you do? What can you do? Tierney says, lads, do you think we're going to be the next Villa, Leeds, Newcastle or Forest in the next 2 to 3 years? I'm breaking it, says Jay. No, I think we'll be all right, mate. It's just the way it is, isn't it? It's just the way it is, mate. We're having a really tough time. Everything that can go wrong at the moment is going wrong. But we still have, if we can get our players back, we've still got more quality than a lot of teams. If we can get them back,
I think we need to get.
This is the worst period.
We need to get through the next 6 games.
Yeah.
We need to pick up probably 9 points between now and the end of
the year.
You know, get to the halfway point being over 20 points.
Yeah. And
go from there. And then in the second half of the season, you know, hopefully improve when we get our players back. And hopefully bed a couple of those under-23s in as well, so they become valuable members of the squad.
Yeah.
And then I think so. December's going to be, it's going to be rough. And I think my Christmas probably has already been destroyed.
Stop it.
But, well, thought it myself.
Teapot says DCL isn't 100 million quid, more like 40. Well, no, it's what he's worth to your football club, isn't he? Scored 20 goals the last couple of seasons. It's what he's worth to your football club. So, yeah, he isn't probably a £100 million player, but if he's worth 100 million to Everton, that's what they're going to ask for.
You get a pair of his shorts for 40 million.
I think probably you get, like, more realistically, it'd be like 75, 80 million. That's what he's worth to Everton Football Club. So Jack Grealish went for 100 million. Declan Rice will go for way over 100 million. Harry Kane almost went for 140 million or whatever. So Dominic Calvert-Lewin, young English striker, English international, scoring goals upward trajectory. 40 million you are having a tin bath for. Absolutely having a laugh. Yeah, Kevin Kraft says players through Man United's manager under the bus. Players do that. Said it for ages. I've said it. And Teapot says he's worth more to Everton than Lukaku. Then, well, yeah, because it was 4 years ago when we sold Romelu Lukaku. If Lukaku was playing now in the current market, Everton would be asking for 125 million, 130 million. Because he was 20-odd goals every season. Everything's moved on, hasn't it? You can't look at people who go for... No, Nikola Vlasic has just gone to West Ham for like 25 million or something. He's a sub. You know, Seb Haller, West Ham pay 45 million. Joe Linton, 40 million. These strikers go for these prices.
What's Lukaku?
So, Lukaku went to Chelsea for 100 million. It's what happens. So, you know, I look at Declan Rice, think he's very good. He's not a £100 million player. 100 million.
So West Ham,
but West Ham think he is. So you go, okay. Wilf Zaha was never an £80 million player, but to Palace he was. No one paid it. So, yeah, you know, it is what it is. Last of the Corinthians says FFP will be the same next season. Someone will have to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I've already made me peace with Richie going, despite me loving him. I've made me peace with it because I think he's Everton's most saleable asset. If he didn't have like Neymar loving him and like suggesting him to play, I'd think, oh well, who's really going to pay the money for him? But I think Neymar's influence will be very strong, and he plays for Brazil and all that. I think it makes sense, really. And Mbappe will waltz into Real Madrid, won't he?
Yeah.
So, like last couple of minutes, and then we are done. Stuart says the players and the managers are trying the best. Can Everton's recruitment say the same? I don't know. Teapot says, fair enough, but you have faith in our board to hardball, something like that. I don't know, but you've got to have a figure, haven't you? That we've done it in the past, haven't we? We've done it with John Stones. Chelsea offered 40 million for him, and Everton said they want, go away, he's not for sale.
I think it's easy to hardball.
I think nowadays,
I think it's easy to hardball teams. Not hard at all, is it? All you got to just say is no. Pick up the phone, no. Get the facts on the go, no. This is what we want. It's a seller's market.
We've done it with PSG with Keane this year. They wanted to pay a loan fee and all that. Didn't want to buy him out, but they promised Everton they were going to pay 30 odd million for him in June. When they come back saying, actually, we want to take him on loan again, Everton said no. Okay, they ended up sending him back to Juve, but they've got 2 loan payments plus, I think it's somewhere like 35 million, I think they get back for him in the end, with it all in. So Everton will spin that very much as they made a profit on him, which they have done. So you've got to be able to say it, and they will. I think they will. Pay the money we want or go away. It's that simple. Give people time scales. If clubs are interested in players like Richarlison, if PSG truly want him and are coming in for him, say, well, if you haven't bought him by that date, he's not for sale. End of story. You see that? The documentary, the Spurs one, when Christian Eriksen wants to go to Inter Milan and Daniel Levy's like, mate, we will sell you, but not for this. This is the price. So you need to maybe go and get onto your people to sort it. And we want it done quickly because they wanted to get beer wine in, didn't they? Which they did. And that's what you do. You say to people, no, you need to, if you're going, you need to be gone by that date. So we've still got time to get you we need it. Rather than letting people come in at the 11th hour on deadline day and going, oh, we are off you go, and we've lost a big asset and we've got a big pot of money, we can't do nothing with it. So that's how you have to do. If you don't do that, then what's the point? What is the point? Right. We are done. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. Lots of you have joined us. We spoke about Mashiri and Marcel Brands, and we spoke a bit about Brownlee Moore, Lewis Dobbin, and we spoke about rumours of Allen being injured, which are rumours at the moment. So there you go. Take it easy. Okay, last one, very last one. Scintillating skills. Do you think we're the type of club that needs a passionate manager that plays intense football like Klopp and Moyes to unite the fan base? We're not a club like Real Madrid or Chelsea that succeed with a slower passing game and stuff. Do you think that's what Evertonians would respond to? See, I think we would love Jurgen Klopp's type of football, the way we are as a fan base.
I think we need, and no, this is nothing against Benitez as such, but I think we need somebody that we feel loves the football club and has an intensity about them and an intensity for us, and just is on the same, feels like they're on the same wavelength. And the thing about it is, the proof is certainly in the pudding. The managers who have ever had any kind of success at Everton Football Club are either people who've played for Everton or just people who have come in like Moyes and give a certain amount of energy and drive and have fell in love with the club. And
that's it.
And that's it, really. And it to me, there's no coincidence. There is no real coincidence that the only people to have ever won trophies with Everton Football Club are people who played for Everton Football Club. There's got to be something in that. There's got to be. And whether people go, oh, it shouldn't be like that or whatever, but that's just the way it is. That's a fact.
Yeah.
That no one can take that away.
No. Connor, just to finish, Peyton, if Iwobi's the only other option on the weekend and Rafa neglects youth on the wing, would it not be better to play Godfrey fullback and either Dean or Coleman higher up? Seriously, cannot be asked with that power Iwobi playing. Yeah, it's one way to play it, isn't it? Definitely. We need players who are there for the cause on Sunday. Everyone's going to have to fight and scrap. And the final one from Keith, no 3 at the back, must be 3 in midfield. Give Sims a go for at least half an hour at centre forward. Dobbin can also get a run. Why not? We all know where we stand now. The supporters will give the kids they support. Take 80 million for Richarlison all day long. Right, that's us done. Don't forget, hit the likes. We really appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't. Thank you very much. Take it easy. Play Ultimate Fan. Link is in the description. We'll see you later. Bye.